10, 11, and 12 are finding the components of the vector. It says calculate the x component of the vector and the y component of the vector. So in other words, we want to find this distance here and this distance here, the x and the y. We know the hypotenuse, so in order to find x, we have the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So we would say that the cosine of x equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. In order to find y, we have the opposite in the hypotenuse. So the sine of x would equal the opposite over the hypotenuse. So cosine of 54 is going to equal the adjacent, which is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 18. The sine of 54 is going to equal the opposite, which is y, over 18. So solving this one, all I'm going to do is 18 cosine of 54. Solving that one, I'm going to do 18 times the sine of 54. So 18 cosine of 54 is 10.5801. I'm rounding to 2 decimal places, so x is going to be 10.58. 18 times the sine of 54 would give me 14.5623, so y is going to be 14.56. Now, I have to make sure I have the right signs on my answer. This happens to be going backwards, so x should be negative. So negative 10.58. This is going down, so y is also going to be negative. So negative 14.56. So x is negative, y is negative, and I found my answers. So always make sure you go back and make sure you have the right sign on your answer, because these are going to end up being positive. But if you're like this one in quadrant 3, you went negative and negative, so both your x and y should be negative. So again, on number 11, we're calculating the x and the y component. So my x is going this way, my y is going this way. And again, we're going to use the cosine in order to find x and the sine in order to find y. So the cosine of 71 is going to equal the adjacent over the hypotenuse, so x over 57. The sine of 71 is going to equal y over 57. So 57 times the cosine of 71 and 57 times the sine of 71. So 57 times the cosine of 71 degrees for x would be 18.5573. So x is going to be 18.56, since I have to round that up. Over here, y is 57 times the sine of 71. So 53.8945. So y is going to be 53.89. My x is going in the positive direction, so it should be positive. My y, however, is going in the negative direction, so I've got to make that negative. So x is 18.56, y is negative 53.89. Number 12, same kind of thing. I want to calculate my x and my y. So I'm going this way for my x, this way for my y. The cosine of 59 is going to equal the adjacent over the hypotenuse, so x over 20. The sine of 59 is going to equal the opposite over the hypotenuse, so y over 20. So 20 times the cosine of 59 and 20 times the sine of 59. So for x, 20 times the cosine of 59 gives me 10.3007, so 10.30, rounding that off, excuse me, to 2 decimal places. Y is going to be 20 times the sine of 59, 17.1433. So y is going to be 17.14, rounding that off to 2 decimal places. Checking my signs, x is going in the negative direction, so that should be negative. Y is also going in the negative direction, so that should be negative. So x is negative 10.30, y is negative 17.14.